Look, I get it. When you think of the 80s, you think of the big ones. The anthems everyone knows. The songs that still get played at every wedding, every bar, every classic rock station. But here's the thing. Some of the best rock songs from that decade never got their moment. I've put together 10 forgotten rock songs from the 80s that should have been massive. Songs that deserved better. Let's get into it. Number 10. When the World is Running Down by The Police. We all know The Police. Roxanne, Every Breath You Take, Message in a Bottle, classics. But here's a track from Zenyatta Mondatta that barely gets mentioned, and that's a shame. When the World is Running Down is dark, hypnotic, and built on one of the tightest grooves The Police ever recorded. It's got this relentless bass line from Sting that just pulls you in, and the lyrics paint this picture of isolation and routine that feels way ahead of its time. The problem? The 80s radio stations didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't upbeat enough for pop, it wasn't loud enough for rock, so it got skipped. But if you go back and listen now, you'll hear a band at the top of their game, experimenting with something moody and hypnotic. This song should have been huge. It had everything: atmosphere, urgency, and a beat that doesn't quit. Instead, it became a deep cut that only the die-hard fans remember. They could build tension, create atmosphere, and make you feel something deeper. When the World is Running Down does all of that. It just needed someone to take a chance on it. Number 9. Talking in Your Sleep by The Romantics. Now, you might remember The Romantics for What I Like About You. That song's everywhere. But Talking in Your Sleep? That's the one that should have taken over the airwaves in 1983. It's got everything a hit needs: a killer hook, a driving beat, and a chorus that sticks in your head for days. The production is tight, the energy is there, and the vocals hit just right. So why didn't it blow up the way it should have? Honestly, I think it just got lost in the shuffle. 1983 was packed with massive releases. Thriller was still dominating, rock radio was crowded, and bands were fighting for every second of airtime. Talking in Your Sleep charted, sure, but it never got the push it deserved. It peaked at number 3, which sounds good until you realize it should have been sitting at number 1 for weeks. What's wild is that this song had crossover potential. It could have played on rock stations, pop stations, even new wave playlists. But it came and went too fast. These days, people remember What I Like About You, and Talking in Your Sleep gets forgotten. That's backwards. If anything, this was the stronger track, the one with more depth and staying power. Go back and listen to it now. You'll hear what I mean. Number 8. Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll by Blue Oyster Cult. And my lips are cold. Okay, so technically this song came out in 1972, but Blue Oyster Cult kept playing it throughout the 80s, and it became a staple of their live shows during that decade. And honestly, it fits the 80s rock spirit perfectly. The thing is, Blue Oyster Cult are one of those bands that never quite got the mainstream recognition they deserved. Everyone knows Don't Fear the Reaper, but beyond that, most people draw a blank. And that's crazy, because Cities on Flame is a monster of a track. With rock and roll. It's powerful, it's loud, and it's got this relentless drive that makes you want to crank the volume up. Why didn't it become a defining anthem of 80s rock? Partly because it came out too early, and partly because Blue Oyster Cult never fit neatly into any one category. They were too heavy for pop rock, too melodic for pure metal, so they got stuck in this weird middle ground where critics loved them but radio didn't know what to do with them. But if you listen to this song now, you'll hear something that could have easily stood alongside anything from AC/DC or Judas Priest. Number 7. Hold Me Now by Thompson Twins. Wait, hold on. Before you say it, yes, Hold Me Now was a hit. It charted in the top 5 in multiple countries. But here's my point. It should have been the song of 1984. It should have been the one everyone remembers when they think of that year. Instead, it got overshadowed by bigger names and bigger budgets. This song is perfect. The production is lush. The melody is gorgeous. And the emotion in the vocals is real. It's one of those rare tracks that feels both intimate and anthemic at the same time. You can listen to it alone in your room and feel every word, or you can hear it in a stadium and sing along with thousands of people. So why didn't it reach that next level? Timing, mostly. 1984 was the year of Purple Rain, Born in the USA, and Like a Virgin. Hold Me Now was a victim of being released in one of the most competitive years in music history. But that doesn't make it any less brilliant. If this song had come out a year earlier or a year later, we'd be talking about it the same way we talk about Take On Me or Don't You Want Me. Number 6. Love Removal Machine by The Cult. Here's a band that should have owned the late 80s. The Cult had everything: the look, the sound, the attitude. Love Removal Machine came out in 1987, right when rock was getting louder and heavier again. And this track delivers. It's got a massive riff, pounding drums, and Ian Astbury's voice cutting through like a razor. So why isn't this song mentioned in the same breath as Welcome to the Jungle or You Could Be Mine? Simple. The Cult were British, and American rock radio in the late 80s was obsessed with homegrown bands. Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, those were the names getting all the attention. The Cult got respect from critics and a loyal fan base, but they never broke through to the mainstream the way they should have. Love Removal Machine is proof that they had what it took. It's got the hooks, the power, the energy. Instead, it became a cult classic. And yeah, I see the irony in that. If you've never heard this track, do yourself a favor and check it out. It's everything late 80s rock should be. Loud, confident, and impossible to ignore. The Cult deserved bigger things, and this song was their ticket. It just never got punched. Number 5. In a Big Country by Big Country. This one's tricky. In a Big Country was actually a hit in the UK. It went top 10, got plenty of radio play, and made Big Country a household name over there. But in the United States, it barely made a dent. And that's a shame, because this song is incredible. The guitar work on this track is unlike anything else from the 80s. Stuart Adamson found a way to make his guitar sound like bagpipes, giving the song this huge, soaring quality that feels both epic and emotional. The lyrics are about hope, perseverance, and finding your place in the world. It's uplifting without being cheesy, powerful without being over the top. So why didn't American audiences latch onto it? Honestly, I think it was just too different. American rock radio in the 80s wanted big hair, big riffs, and big attitudes. In a Big Country had all the emotion and power, but it didn't fit the mold. It was too earnest, too heartfelt. And in a decade that celebrated excess and spectacle, earnest didn't always sell. But that's what makes this song special. It's genuine. It's not trying to be anything other than what it is. Big Country just wanted to make something real. And they did. This song deserved a bigger moment in the States, and it never got one. Number 4. The Promise by When in Rome. You know what's wild? When in Rome are basically a one-hit wonder, and their one hit wasn't even their best song. Everyone remembers The Promise, but most people don't realize it didn't become a hit until 1988, even though it was originally released in 1983. It took 5 years for people to catch on. 5 years. And when it finally did chart, it peaked at number 11 in the US. Number 11. That's the definition of so close but not quite.
To a stranger, you know in the end.
This song had everything going for it. The synth line is iconic, the vocals are smooth and emotional, and the whole thing has this dreamy romantic quality that should have made it a massive ballad for the decade. So what went wrong? Bad timing, bad luck, and bad promotion. When it was first released, nobody paid attention. When it finally got a second chance years later, it was competing with a completely different music landscape. By 1988, rock was getting heavier, pop was getting faster, and a gentle synth-pop ballad didn't quite fit anymore. But here's the thing, if The Promise had been properly promoted in 1984 or 85, it would have been huge. When in Rome deserved better, and so did this song.
I'll always be there.
Number 3. The Cure's Close to Me. The Cure is legendary, no one can argue with that. But for a band that defined 80 seconds music, it's strange that most of their best songs are overlooked. Close to Me is a perfect example of this. Released in 1985, this song is one of the most original tracks the band ever recorded. It has a cheerful, almost playful rhythm, but the lyrics are dark and claustrophobic. This contrast is what makes the song magnificent. So why wasn't this song a big hit? Because radio stations didn't get it. The Cure was always a bit too strange, a bit too experimental for mainstream rock radio. They had a huge fan base, but they weren't played alongside Bon Jovi or Bruce Springsteen. And Close to Me, with its strange energy and unusual vibe, was a particularly difficult song for radio programmers to grasp. But that's exactly why it should have been a huge hit. It was different. It stood out. In a decade filled with uniformity, where every rock band was chasing the same sound, The Cure was doing something completely unique. The Cure eventually achieved mainstream success with Just Like Heaven and Love Song, but by then the 80s were almost over. I think Close to Me should have been the song that propelled them to major success. Number 2, Don't Change by INXS.
I'm standing here on the ground.
INXS were massive in the 80s. Need You Tonight, New Sensation, Never Tear Us Apart. Those songs were everywhere. But before all that success, they released Don't Change in 1982, and somehow it never got the recognition it deserved outside of Australia.
Don't change a thing.
This song is perfect. The guitar riff is instantly memorable. The vocals from Michael Hutchence are passionate and raw, and the whole thing has this urgency that makes you want to move. It's anthemic without being over the top, emotional without being sappy, and the message is simple but powerful. Stay true to yourself, no matter what. So why didn't it blow up internationally? Timing. Again. 1982 was early for INXS. They hadn't broken through in the US yet, and their label didn't have the muscle to push them onto American radio. By the time they became huge a few years later, Don't Change was old news. It got forgotten in favor of their newer hits. But if you listen to it now, you'll realize it's just as strong as anything they released later. In fact, some fans argue it's their best song, period. Instead, it became a hidden gem that only the dedicated fans know about. Number 1. Voices Carry by Till Tuesday. This is the one that really gets me. Voices Carry was actually a hit. It went to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1985. But here's my point. It should have been bigger. It should have been one of the defining songs of the decade. And the reason it wasn't is because people didn't take it seriously enough. At the time, critics dismissed Till Tuesday as just another synth-pop band trying to ride the new wave. They saw the music video with the dramatic haircut reveal and thought it was all style, no substance. But if you actually listen to the song, you'll hear something deeper. That's the problem with the 80s music scene sometimes. If a song was too accessible, too radio-friendly, people assumed it couldn't be serious. Voices Carry proved that wrong, but by the time people realized it, the moment had passed. Amy Mann went on to have a great solo career, and she's gotten the respect she deserves as a songwriter. But this song, the one that started it all, still doesn't get the credit it's owed. That's a shame. Voices Carry should be remembered as one of the great songs of the 80s, not just a one-hit wonder that people vaguely remember from MTV. So there you have it. 10 rock songs from the 80s that deserve so much more than they got. Some were victims of bad timing, some were too different for mainstream radio, and some just got lost in the noise of one of the most competitive decades in music history. But that doesn't make them any less great. So do me a favor, go back and listen to these tracks. Give them the attention they should have gotten the first time around. And let me know what you think. Did I get it right? Or is there another forgotten 80s gem that deserves a spot on this list? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear which songs you think got robbed. And hey, if you love the 80s as much as I do, hit that subscribe button. There's plenty more where this came from.